Vamos a darle paso a un invitado dinámico, estruendoso, muy conocido en el mercado. Es un querido amigo, yo diría que un querido amigo personal, pero independientemente de eso, forma parte de una compañía importante que se llama Market Rebellion. Su nombre es Marc LoPresti y obviamente Marc es uno de los más importantes, digamos, ejecutivos que ahora ha tomado las riendas de ayudar a los hermanos Najarian en todo lo que tiene que ver con el proceso de la dinámica de las opciones. Obviamente la entrevista la vamos a hacer en inglés, Marc habla inglés, yo voy a tratar, aunque tenemos subtítulos en español, de tratar de explicarles. Creo que primero es darle las gracias porque obviamente estamos en el mes más lento donde, como ustedes ven, en los Estados Unidos nadie se paraliza. Y en segundo lugar, ¿qué es lo que está viendo él justamente en el mercado de opciones, en la parte del índice del miedo a la volatilidad? Marc, how are you? How you doing? I'm very happy to have you here. Happy Monday, happy week. I think the first question is, what are you seeing on your radar screen that is capturing your attention? And let us know if you are seeing anything on the VIX, because obviously you know the volatility, you know about the options, and I think it will be pretty interesting for the audience to understand from you guys, what are you guys forecasting and taking care of?
I think the first question, Victor, should be, why is my Spanish not good enough to be able to conduct these interviews in Espanol? Maybe the next one. Maybe the next one.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you as always. Congratulations on the explosive growth of the show. It's a pleasure to be on. And yes, a happy Monday, happy August to you. We'll start by saying August is traditionally the worst month for the performance in the markets and all the major indices. We call that part of the seasonality effect in the markets. Now, seasonality, we used to talk about things like sell in May and go away when traders and people on Wall Street would flee to the Hamptons or wherever they went during the summer, and volatility would fall, volumes would fall, and stocks would typically fall as well. We haven't seen that volatility effect, that seasonality effect, as much in recent years, as algorithmic trading and a lot of the way that the markets used to trade has obviously changed and gone upstairs, as we say. But one thing that does continue from a seasonality perspective in the past few years is that August is a weak month, right? So we start there. We also then talk about, we have a lot of unresolved issues when it comes to international trade and President Trump's tariff tantrum, as many have called it. But you point out our favorite and most important index that we watch all day long, every day, and even in the post in the pre-markets. We're talking, of course, about the VIX. And yes, we saw, leading up to last week's correction, Victor, we saw some pretty heavy option activity, some pretty heavy call buying in the VIX on Wednesday. Significant size, 20, 30,000 lot call buying in the VIX at handles above 22. That indicated to us that there was a correction coming. We shared that signal with the members of the Market Rebellion service, that bullish VIX signal. Of course, when the VIX goes up, that means that the market is expected to go down. Unfortunately, right, it sort of operates inversely because it's an indication that uncertainty and volatility, that's what the index measures, is increasing. And of course, we saw that significant sell-off on Friday, driven primarily, not so much by the August 1st deadline. The market has priced in, by and large, that President Trump will eventually get these trade deals done, number one. And number two, Victor, perhaps even more importantly, we have not seen the impact of tariffs in the way that many would have liked us to believe back during Liberation Day. It has not pushed us into recession. It has not put cold water on consumer spending. It has not caused corporations, by and large, to substantially reduce their spending in anticipation of these massive negative impacts of tariffs. What has happened so far? $150 billion in counting in revenue to the U.S. Treasury from these tariffs. 2 consecutive months of budget surplus. I don't remember the last time we talked about that in the United States. It's a long time ago. And we don't see consumers, by and large, feeling the impact of that increased pricing resulting from tariffs being pushed down to the consumer. So the street really isn't that concerned about the tariff story right now. What we are concerned about, and what caused the sell-off on Friday, is the revisions to the jobs numbers. Of course, President Trump famously firing the labor secretary after those massive revisions to the May and June jobs numbers. And not in small numbers, Victor. 260,000 combined revised to the downside for May and June. Markets are up in the pre this morning. Why is that? People were concerned that the sell-off might continue. I'll tell you why that is, Victor. People are hoping that these cooler job numbers, this becomes that bad news, good news scenario that gets people confused when they ask me at cocktail parties. But this may be what Jay Powell needs, I'm talking about Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, to actually make a move to the downside to get that first 25 basis point rate cut that Wall Street has been so desperately waiting for and President Trump is so vocally demanding, because he hasn't been getting the reason to do that when it comes to the inflation numbers.
Listen, what I love more about the explanation, which was very detail-oriented, and not only that, very accurate about what we have now, is your energy. For a Monday morning, wow, thank you for that, because we need it. We are in August, you know that. It's a very slow month, low liquidity, no volatility. And my next question have to be listen, we're seeing now a correction in the oil. We were very worried about this kind of, confrontation between Russia and the U.S., at least on the microphone. You saw what happened with President Trump saying he will put more submarines around and all those nuclear type of situations. But now with this amount of retracement around, just so you know, we are down close to 2.5%. You're right. The market seems to have a very, very bright outlook. But now you understand, Mark, and you've been in the market for quite a few years like me, that when everybody is super bullish, the contrarian and the sentiment behavior is telling you something might be able to derail this. Tell me, when you talk to the Nigerian brothers and all the people in your team, what are you paying attention to that can derail this rally? Because everybody's buying the dip. What do you think can happen that can realistically kind of put us back on track, which is healthy, don't get me wrong, but obviously we don't see anything out there, and I think it's important to understand what are the risks. The risk exists. What do you think would be one of those, Mark, in your opinion?
Well, listen, we were very concerned that we were going to get some cold water poured on us, a little bit of a reality check to the bull party that we've been having since that V-shaped recovery, that very sharp V-shaped recovery since Liberation Day. The S&P, Victor, as you know, even with Friday's recovery, up 22% and change since Liberation Day. Not so bad, right? We did not see the gloom and doom. We did not see the massive devastation to people's retirement accounts that a lot of folks were talking about back in April and May as a result of these tariff policies. We were looking very carefully at corporate earnings, and by and large, notwithstanding we're sort of have a little bit of a weaker finish to the earnings season, by and large, we did not get that cold water with these earnings reports. We did, by and large, most 80%, I think it was 83% when I last looked on Monday, of companies reporting met or exceeded expectations for the second quarter. That's obviously good news. What we are concerned about, where we could start to see cracks, is if we do not get a meaningful deal, particularly with China. Yes, we have a deal with the EU. We have a deal with a number of other countries that are fairly significant trade partners, but we don't have China yet. We still have a problem in terms of Canada. We don't have a trade deal with Canada as of yet. And if, and I don't see this happening, but if there was further aggressive activity on the part of the president to possibly even do something like replace or force the resignation of Jerome Powell, that could cause a crisis of confidence, a credibility crisis that I think could see the bond vigilantes take over, driving equity markets to the downside. But listen, there are risks. There's risks in everything. There's risks in investing. Absolutely. We shouldn't pretend that it's just a bull party and stocks only go up. Stocks actually, unfortunately, folks, tend to go down a lot faster than they go up. That's just the nature of the beast. But the reality of it is right now, Victor, I mean, look at the VIX this morning. We had this massive significant sell-off on Friday. I don't want to overdo it and sound like the guys on CNN. We had a significant sell-off on Friday. The VIX is down another 6.5% when I last looked. We're below a 20 handle. And by the way, a 20 handle, just for context, in the VIX is pretty good for the bulls in terms of smooth sailing for continued positive activity. Everything is indicating to us that things are still going in the right direction.
Give me 1 second, Mark. I'm going to tell them en español very quickly. Lo que estamos conversando con él, como ustedes lo ven, cargado de energía, para que tengan una idea. Hay unos hermanos muy conocidos en el sector de las opciones, que son los hermanos Naharian. Ellos se han especializado en el mercado de opciones. Tienen una compañía que se llama Market Rebellion y Marc es el ejecutivo, el CEO de la compañía que ve todo ese horizonte de lo que ellos predicen y de lo que ellos educan con las opciones. Ahora bien, cuando hablamos de la primera pregunta, está sumamente positivo porque no hay nubarrones en el camino. Todo lo vemos positivo. En el segundo lugar, cuando le pregunto a Marc, ¿qué cosas crees que puede pasar para descarrilar esto? Pues obviamente que hay una pelea mucho más fuerte entre el presidente de la Reserva Federal, el presidente Donald Trump, y que no se llegue a un acuerdo con China, máximo cuando esta mañana supimos que en el caso de las tierras raras, los rare minerals, China no está tan bullish. Ahora le vamos a preguntar de la joya de la corona para mí, que lo es, pues obviamente en el caso de los activos digitales, el Bitcoin. Marc, now talking about the digital assets. We saw a retracement over the weekend where the Bitcoin came down a little bit. People are looking forward to see potentially a new highs. And obviously, I'm going to give you 45 seconds for you to tell us what do you think it might happen on those digital assets. That's now not a secret that a lot of companies, wealth managers, are seeing this seriously in how to allocate some sort of Bitcoin for their clients. But again, everybody's towards that. We don't see that translating to prices. Not yet. We should. And the question is, it might be something fishy here where we might realistically buy the rumor and again sell the news. What do you think will happen with the asset and digital asset, and in special with the Bitcoin market?
So listen, you bring up a great point. There is a huge trend. We're talking about the treasury trend. What I mean by that is more and more companies announcing that they are going to take Bitcoin and actually put it on balance sheet as a store of value. You saw Elon Musk with Tesla, obviously Michael Saylor, MicroStrategies being some of the early adopters of that kind of strategy several years ago. That's paid off for them massively. Why has that paid off, particularly as it relates to Bitcoin, but also other cryptocurrencies? It's the Trump administration. And you don't have to like Donald Trump. You can hate Donald Trump, but the reality of it is we have an administration that is pro-crypto and in a meaningful way. We're getting regulation. We're getting the right kind of regulation. We're getting the kind of support and the certainty among the agencies with the Genius Act, the Anti-CBDC Act. There are parts of the Genius Act and the Clarity Act, that's the pending legislation that creates a regulatory framework for crypto, that we did not get before the August recess in Congress. Just before that, we had Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others hitting all-time highs. So we saw some profit taking when people were hoping that the Clarity Act would actually get completed before Congress went away for summer vacation. That didn't happen. It's an excuse for a little bit of selling. We're actually looking to buy and add Bitcoin on that recent sell-off, because once the Clarity Act completes its passage, and it will, we're going to keep going even higher. I think we see Bitcoin a lot higher by the end of the year. I mean, a lot higher by the end of the year.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. Obviously, I'm a little cautious, but you're absolutely right. I was listening to only earlier in CNBC. He was talking exactly something regarding the Bitcoin and where we should be going from this point. Thank you very much. We're going to get together soon. There is a lot of things, a lot to do for the Spanish-speaking people. As you know, we would like to have guys like your partners, the Nigerian brother, at some point telling us what they think. Thank you for making the time, and we will speak with you soon, Marc. Have a great day.
My pleasure, my friend. Gracias.